Hello and welcome to 2CrazyMedia. I'm Matthew and today I'm going to be giving my review on Crimson Desert. This has been a long-awaited video for a while now, ever since the game came out last month, and finally here. I've been delaying this video for weeks and weeks now, constantly saying, hey, next week Crimson Desert review, and then just not doing it, for a lot of reasons that I will explain and get into in this video. But I finally have decided it is time to sit down, and we're almost into a month of this game being out, and I decided it's about time that I finally get this review out and finally just start talking about it, even though it is a game I am still playing, and I'll talk about that in the video as well. Usually most of my reviews for video games are games that I have finished, but this time it is not, and I will kind of get into that as well in the video. But just some housekeeping before I get into that. This weekend, this Sunday, obviously news video like usual. Gonna be doing the normal news roundup of the week and all the news in video games and movies as well, maybe, that happened this past week, because there has been some fun stories that we want to talk about. But that's gonna be this Sunday, and then still kind of thinking on what's gonna be next week, as we're a little bit finally starting to dry out with reviews for a little bit. So at least for next week. The week after, we start to pick up again with video game and movie reviews happening, but at least for next week, I'm still trying to decide some of the fun topics maybe I'll talk about and all that stuff. So if you have any ideas, put in the comments below. But that's all for housekeeping. How about we just jump straight into the review for Crimson Desert? Now, how am I usual? If you haven't seen a review on this channel before, usually how they work is I'll first give a bunch of the basis of who developed it, the OpenCritic, the Metacritic scores, the release dates, all that stuff, the platforms I played on, how many hours I have in the game, give a synopsis, big picture thoughts, and then after that I'll go into my pros, my cons, and then kind of my big overall paragraph with, at the end, a review score out of 10. So, to start off, Crimson Desert is a game developed by Pearl Abyss, who is a studio who their one big game before this was a game called Black Desert Online, which is an MMO game. This game, Crimson Desert, was released on March 19th, 2026, so almost a month old now, which is crazy. It has an OpenCritic score of 78 and a Metacritic score of 77, which is not bad, don't get me wrong. I don't think the 70s are bad at all. I think the 70s are pretty good. That's a pretty good game, but definitely lower than most people, including myself, were expecting. I think going into this game, before it released, before the review embargo lifted, I think myself included and most people were expecting this game to be in the mid-80s, to be received really well, to be a Game of the Year competitor, but I don't think anyone was expecting sort of that reception with it. In terms of the platforms the game is on, you can play it on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. The platform I played it on was both PS5 and PS5 Pro, and I'll get into that right now really quickly. So if you don't know, if you haven't watched any of the past few videos, I think I've mentioned it in all the past videos, but just this past weekend or 2 weekends ago, but right before the PS5 and PS5 Pro price hikes that just happened, I decided to finally say, hey, I'm gonna buy a PS5 Pro, because I just had a base PS5 before then, and it was working out fine. I never really encountered issues, but the first issues I really encountered was with playing Crimson Desert, and kind of the graphics and all that on the base PS5, and I'll get into that as well in this video later on, more in depth. And so, and also I had the goal of buying a PS5 Pro before GTA 6, like most people did, like most people have. And I wasn't gonna buy it so soon, but when the price hikes, when they announced it, I'm like, I gotta buy this before the price hikes, before they sell out, before the price hikes and all that. So I went out the weekend before and bought a PS5 Pro, gave my old base PS5 to my brother and co-host on this channel, Jason, and so that's why I went from playing on the PS5 for the first few weeks of the game being out to then going to the PS5 Pro since. To give a quick synopsis of the game, Crimson Desert is a single-player open-world action-adventure following Cliff, a mercenary leader navigating a brutal fantasy world called Pywell. After being betrayed and left for dead by the rival Black Bear faction, Cliff receives mysterious mysterious abyssal powers and strives to reunite his scattered comrades, the Grey Mans, to survive against political, supernatural, and personal threats. Players follow the story of Mercenary Cliff, engaging in fast-paced combat, large-scale siege battles, and exploration. It is known for its high-fidelity visuals and diverse gameplay systems, including physics-based combat, puzzle solving, and traversal. Alrighty, and just as a quick disclaimer before I get into my own opinions on this game, everyone can have their own opinions on video games. No one should be judged. No one should be anything for their views on a video game. Everyone should have their own. If everyone shares the same opinions on a game, that's boring. If everyone hates the game unanimously, or if everyone loves a video game unanimously, that's boring. Just, yeah, the game's good, everyone loves it, but it's like, okay, all the reviews are going to sound the same, people have opinions, and people have their own opinions, and you shouldn't judge it for something just based off of what they did and didn't like about a video game. That being said, just because I may not like one aspect of a video game, doesn't mean I hate the game, or don't like the game. Some of my favorite games of all time, my top 4 games of all time, have aspects that I can point out and say, I don't like that part, and I don't like that part, and I may not like that part, but they're still my favorite games of all time. Like, just because I may not like an aspect of a game doesn't mean I hate it. So, just to jump straight into it, my big picture is Crimson Desert is not a bad game at all. It is actually quite a good game, but it's just not a game for me personally. And here are 2 things I heard on the internet that I'm like, wow, I share the exact same thoughts as this. I share the exact same sentiment, and that is that for every 3 things I like about Crimson Desert, there are 6 things I don't like. And this game favors quantity over quality. And while I do think there is a lot of quality in this game, the sheer quantity of it all diminishes it for me. So before I get into the cons, just want to jump straight into my pros, because I do like this game a lot. I don't hate this game. I do like the game. I think a big pro for the game is the graphics. The graphics are really, really impressive. I've seen, obviously I don't have a PC, I'm not playing the game on PC, but I've seen people who have played the game on PC, and it looks just outstandingly gorgeous. It looks insane. Everything just about the game on PC and higher consoles just look fantastic. When playing on my new PS5 Pro, the game looks beautiful, especially on like quality mode. It looks great. It looks fantastic. Everything from the draw distance to the shadows to really everything about this game just looks insane, just top notch. The graphics are really, truly impressive. Like, blew my mind kind of in the same way like Death Stranding 2 blew my mind in terms of the graphics. The graphics are fantastic in this game. But for the most part, I think there are a lot of issues with the graphics, especially on older consoles. Playing on base PS5 for a while with this game, I couldn't play on performance mode because of how muddy and just blurry everything looked. It just looked blurry, it looked muddy, it looked just gross and yucky, and it was basically just, I couldn't play it on performance mode, and I'd rather play on 60 FPS than 30 FPS. I don't like playing on 30 FPS anymore, just because I'm so used to, and I think most people are so used to playing on 60 FPS, because most games are 60 FPS these days. Or at least have a working, functioning, looking good 60 FPS mode. And also, even on PS5 Pro, yes, I can finally play the game on 60 FPS where it looks really good. It looks fantastic in some moments. But I think in other moments, the game is too dark, in a sense where, for some reason on performance mode, even on PS5 Pro, and I don't know if this is an HDR issue or something else, but I find some parts to be way too dark, where I'll be walking through some of the towns in the game and the ground at some areas will just be like black, like a weird shadow is being casted, but I don't know where the shadow is coming from. It's just strange. I was playing late last night, and I was in this one like big tower that it was only being lit up by dimly lights, and it was night out, so it wasn't being lit up that much. But there were just too many little pockets and corners that was just pitch black, and I'm like, they shouldn't be. There should be at least a little bit of light illuminating on it, but the light would not illuminate on it at all. it was just pitch black and it just didn't look great. So I think the graphics are fantastic for the most part, but there are just some areas where I think it has some issues to it. Another part I really liked about the game is the combat system. I think it's a lot of fun. At the beginning, I was a little bit mixed on the combat system, but the more I played, the more different moves and abilities I unlocked using the skill tree, which is also great. I found it to be a lot of fun. I mean, the sword combat feels really good. It kind of reminds me a lot of almost Batman Arkham games where you are snapping to the next person. After you kill someone, you immediately snap to the next person, and go lunge at them. Kind of like a Spider-Man or a Batman Arkham game, and I really like that. I've always liked that combat system. It feels fun, it feels fast, it feels fluid, and I think this game really feels good in terms of the combat. I find the hits to feel pretty weighty. I find the cool animations when you kill someone to be cool and fun and interesting and different. I like the combat a lot in this game, especially later once you unlock cool moves like the wrestling moves. Like doing a haymaker on someone is awesome. It is so cool, just grabbing them by the neck and just slamming them on the ground. I love that. I'm doing it all the time to people now. It's so much fun, and it's just satisfying to watch every time. It's a blast and it's a joy. And I like all the other different weapons. I think using an axe could be fun at times, using a spear, using all the different weapons and stuff. The only thing I don't like is the bow and arrow. I think the bow and arrow just doesn't feel good at all, and also does not have a weight to it that it should. And so maybe I'm just used to, on the PlayStation, having the adaptive triggers for games that have bow and arrows and it always feeling really good. This game just does not feel weighty at all with a bow and arrow, which kind of sucks. But every other part of the combat system I really like. I like the powers, the whole push, and using that on enemies as well feels nice. Another thing I really liked are the boss battles. A lot of people have said the boss battles are very difficult. Yes, I've found a lot of challenge with some of them. A lot of boss battles that I've done so far, because I have not completed the game. I'm not even close to completed the game. I am, like I said, about 20 hours. Actually, I totally forgot to mention, I'm about 20 hours in. So a good amount. I'm a good amount of chapters in, honestly. I've been like mostly trying to focus on the story because everyone says the story gets better with later chapters, and I'm like, shoot, I want it to get better. So I've been kind of going more with that. But yeah, no, I think all the boss battles that I've done so far have been fun. They've been cool and interesting. They each have kind of their own mechanics you got to figure out during it, which I think is cool and fun and different. I really like the Reed Devil boss battle and that one mission in like the third chapter. That mission is like my favorite I played so far. That was an awesome mission. The amount of enemies you got to kill, the Reed boss battle and the whole field is insane. It's awesome. It's just that boss battle was a blast to play. I didn't die. I beat it first try. I definitely know they fixed, and like a lot of the patch notes and bug fixes and stuff, they've made the boss battles easier, so I can definitely see where, yeah, that might have been easier than people who have played it before me had a harder time with it, because I just got it easier with playing it after bug fixes and patches. But I still found the boss battles to be challenging in a good way. I like the challenge in the boss battles. I'm glad they're not easy, and I haven't been able to defeat every single one in first try. There have been a few where I've had a few tries to defeat them, and I like that. I think that's good. It adds a challenge to it all. And I think it works with the combat system and how fun it is. So I like the boss battles a lot. I like I just kind of speaking on also about the bug fixes and patches. I really respect how fast Pearl Abyss has been with introducing bug fixes and patches into the game. I feel like every single day my game's been updating and been downloading more bug fixes and patches, and everything they fixed have been issues that I had. Like, a big reason why I didn't review this game closer to launch and while it's taken me so long is because I feel like if I had reviewed my game the week after launch, or 2 weeks after launch, or even 3 weeks after launch, my review would have been outdated by then, or by now. And honestly, I still wouldn't be shocked if in a few weeks this review is outdated in terms of some of my issues being patched and fixed as well. I think that it's awesome that they are patching and fixing it so fast and so frequent. I love all the fast travel bug fixes and, well, not really bug fixes, but adding more fast travel points. adding more inventory space and just so many different stuff they're adding to the game just to make it better and to make the experience more fun. I really respect that a lot. I think it's great. I think, yes, it does suck for, I guess, people reviewing the game and being like, oh, in a few weeks later it's going to be outdated. But I think for the game overall, it's great. And I just respect Pearl Abyss for being that quick on it. And I think it's fantastic what they've been doing with bug fixes and post-launch updates so far. Also, just speaking on it, fast traveling is very useful. The map is so big, and I'll talk about that more in the video soon. And so because of that, it's nice that there are so many fast travel points so close to each other. I think that is good. Yes, I do like traveling around this world on horseback, and I think it's really cool to explore. But at a certain point, when I've already gone back and forth from the camp to the towns and explored and been back and forth to these places constantly, which is a story it makes you do a lot so far, I'm like, I just want to fast travel, and it's nice that they give you that option. So that's really great as well. Speaking on the map, it is very varied. I've mainly stuck to Hernan, the first area that you start in. I mainly stuck to there with all the missions and all that stuff. I've explored a little bit out with some missions and kind of gone out a little further now as I'm getting further into the game, but I haven't explored that much. I've explored a little bit of the desert itself. I've explored a couple more big towns. I've gone up to the snow area a few times. I've taken sort of moments to kind of go away from the story a little bit, take a break from the story, and just go around. Not even do side missions, just right around the map, right around, find stuff. Some of my favorite moments, honestly, of playing this game have just been exploration, just exploring the world that they've built. I think 2 moments like where I'm riding out outside of Hernan for the first time, just don't even have a mission, don't even have a reason to go out there, other than I just want to explore. I've heard so much about this map, and I've heard that it takes a while to kind of get out of the opening areas, so I'm like, I want to explore more and see more, and kind of going out, finding these big massive towns, meeting new factions, and having them attack me immediately, finding that little circus fair thing near that one big town, and exploring that, and just being amazed by how cool that is and finding myself in the desert all of a sudden, and how crazy and big the desert is, and how cool it looks, to then following the train tracks in the desert, to then all of a sudden encountering a massive jungle and rainforest and being like, whoa, and then exploring the rainforest and be like, this is massive and insane. And then and I get off for the night, and the next morning I get in, and all of a sudden it spawns me in just some random area, like on the whole other side of the map for some reason. But I was in this cool town that I've never been to, that is not even in where any of the story missions are, like super far away. And it's like this town full of fairies and stuff, and I'm like, this is crazy, this is insane. I'm like, I love that. I just loved exploring and traversing and seeing this map, and it's probably my favorite part of the game. Like, I think my true favorite moment and favorite like part of this game, I guess moment, I'd say, that I've had so far is at one point, I believe somewhere like chapter 3 or something, I had to go from the Greyman camp to it was the start of the Reed Devil storyline, and I had to go to that big mansion or something a little far away in a new area you haven't gone to yet to investigate something and find 2 members of your crew. And so I decided, hey, this is a new area I haven't been to yet, I haven't explored. I'm going to take the journey slow. I'm going to just take in the world, see what it is, see how it is, and just take it in, go slow, just not even run on the horse, just kind of walk on the horse really slowly, follow the path, don't even cut the path, anything like that, follow it, explore every little town and nook and stuff that I happen to come across. And I think that's my favorite moment I had, just that little journey from the Greyman camp to the next mission. Like, genuinely just going through very slowly and exploring and just seeing everything at a snail's pace was fantastic and did wonders, at least for me. I loved it. I loved getting off my horse every minute or so to explore this shack and to visit these people and to talk to this NPC and to defeat this group of enemies. It was just my favorite moment playing the game, and was definitely an eye-opening moment at that point of being like, wow, I have finally found what is so special about this game. I guess just one other small little pro that I kind of want to talk about. This is a small little feature of the game, and that is the precise jump. When I first heard that there was a precise jump where you can choose where to jump, I was like, oh, that's dumb. But honestly, the more I played the game, especially with some of the stuff in the abyss and the parkour there, I think the precise jump is so helpful. Like, genuinely, I don't know why no other games have done it, and just how just nice and easy it is and useful it makes everything. And I'm like, dang, when I have another game to play that doesn't have it, I need to jump and do some parkour stuff, I'm gonna wish I had the precise jump feature. It's just really nice. It's just a great feature, and I'm glad it was in the game. I made fun of it at the beginning, but now I'm like, shoot, it's actually kind of useful. I like it. And then I guess final pro before I get into the cons is the flying is cool. I like the flying a lot. You unlock early on. I think it's a lot of fun. And definitely the bug fixes of making it. So my biggest issue before was the stamina and how fast the stamina depleted, especially when flying. And so you can only fly very little before the stamina would just stop. And just cut out and you'd fall to the ground and lose health. That annoyed me so much. And so now going back and playing it with much more stamina is way better. It's so much nicer. But I guess now to finally rip the Band-Aid off and get into some of my cons with the game, the story is abysmal. Everyone has agreed, or mostly everyone has agreed on this point, the story is terrible. It's boring, uninspired, forgetful. Characters are one-sided. Cliff has as much emotion as cardboard. I'm just annoyed with Cliff because the opening of the game ends with him being killed. The beginning of the game, basically, he gets killed. He wakes up alive, and then shortly after gets transported to this whole area, temple above the sky, above the clouds, and he's meeting wizards and witches, and he's gaining magical powers and skydiving with magical wings and stuff. All this crazy stuff. And he absolutely does not react to any of it. He doesn't care about any of it. None of it is crazy to him. None of it is insane. It is just like, come on. Like, he has no emotion, no anything at all. He's a boring main character and just forgettable. I am going to forget Cliff very soon after I'm done playing this game. The whole fast-forwarding cutscenes, I'm glad it's there because the dialogue sucks and it's boring, and the cutscenes are all really boring as well. I'm glad that fast-forwarding is there, but I wish they just gave you the option to skip the cutscene instead. Like, come on. I honestly have no desire to continue the story other than it finally sort of picking up in the chapter I'm in and it getting better. And I feel like chapters 1 through 3 were a little boring and like very boring. Not a little, very boring and slow, and I had a big issue with them. And I'm like, dang, I'm not liking this game. Finally, once I reach chapter 4, it's getting better, and as I've gone through with further chapters, it is getting better. It's definitely, I'm exploring more of the map, I'm meeting more characters, all that stuff. It is definitely picking up, but still though, there's just too many filler missions in between all the really good missions, where it's just like, all right, like there were too many times playing the game where I'm like, oh, wow, that mission was really good. That was a lot of fun. I'm excited to get into the next mission to continue the storyline. This is actually getting interesting. And then the next mission is just immediately sours me. And it's just like, okay, this is just another filler mission, or it's really boring. It was pointless. Like, there were too many fetch quests and missions where I said, like, after I completed the mission, I was like, that was pointless. There was no point in doing that. And that just sucks. Because I'm someone, yes, while I feel like people went into this game hoping that the story was going to be amazing or grand or big, since people were comparing it to like, oh, this is going to be the next Red Dead Redemption or the next Witcher, which are games that have fantastic, amazing stories. I'm personally not someone who wants to try to compare this game too many, because this game is very different from those, even though it has a lot of similarities. I don't want to compare it in the sense. I want to more so just kind of talk about it as it is without any comparisons, but at a certain point, I feel like I also should have gone into the game knowing, hey, the story is going to take a backseat to exploration, but I kind of went into it hoping, because I'm someone who loves a good story. I'm someone who wants to play a game that has a fantastic stories. Usually my favorite parts of most games are the stories and the characters and all that stuff. And so that's why I go back to play so many games that I love stories in them, like Red Dead Redemption, Uncharted 4, games like that have fantastic, amazing stories. This game just doesn't. And I'm not saying that, oh, hey, it's ruined the game fully for me, but it's definitely a big part of the game, and I think the emphasis put on the story, I think if they maybe put less emphasis on the story, more like a Breath of the Wild or more like a Breath of the Wild, where that game has a story to it, but barely, but it's more so on the exploration and discovering stuff. I think that the game put more sort of on that, it definitely would have been much better, because the story is just not good, and it feels like it's just there to be there. Now, outside of this main story, there are a lot of side missions. Side missions are a plenty in this game, which is good for someone like me who likes having a lot of content outside of the main story, but every single side mission I've played so far has just been boring fetch quests. I've never played a side mission in this game, and I've played a lot, because I do like playing side missions in games. I just have not played any that I've found to be interesting. They've all just felt like boring, pointless side quests, which suck. I guess I've already talked about the performance and how I think it's the performance on base PlayStation and base Xbox is unacceptable in my opinion. I get that this game is a very high demanding game and is a game that is going to perform much better on PC than really anywhere else. But I still think with how expensive consoles are these days, and especially with the price hikes that just happened and how much it costs to buy it, I'm lucky enough to have been able to buy it and afford a PS5 Pro. But a lot of people can't. And that just sucks that the game performs so poorly on base PS5, and I'm sure also base Xbox Series S especially, and that is a cheap console, and a lot of people can't afford a Series X or a PS5, even a base PS5. And so to put a game like people were excited for and to have the performance be like that on those consoles is, in my opinion, just unacceptable, and it really sucks. I'm glad the developers have been trying to address those issues and patch notes and fix it to try to make it better, but still though, just how it released at launch, it was just terrible, and it reminded me of how unacceptable like Cyberpunk launched on the base on like old gen consoles, and how terrible it was to play Cyberpunk on PS4 or Xbox One, and just how unacceptable that was as well. I think this is a very similar issue to that. And while it's not as broken as like Cyberpunk was on old consoles, I still think it's unacceptable how it performed. And also, they fixed it, I'm glad they fixed it pretty quickly, about like a week into the game, but it had honestly soured me so much, and that's that I had that map glitch that basically every time I opened up the map, the game just crashed. Like, it was every time. It started out as every couple times I'd open the map, the game would crash, and it didn't matter what graphics setting I was on or the graphics I had or anything. Every time I opened the map, it only happened to start a few times, but then after a few days, it just was every time I opened the map. I could not open the map unless the game crashed, and I genuinely started to really hate the game at that moment, because I'm like, I want to enjoy the game, I want to play it, but you have to open the map, but I cannot open the map because every time I open the map, it just crashes. It sucked. I was so pissed, which is why it's taken me this long to get this far in the story, and I'm still not even that far in the story. But that soured me so much, and I know they fixed it because I don't have that issue anymore, and they said they fixed it, which is great, and I'm glad they did. But that annoyed me so much. It made me so pissed, in the same level where I honestly never went back to Cyberpunk after they fixed it, because I was just so rubbed the wrong way because of how it was at launch, and because when I was playing Cyberpunk, I had basically a game-breaking bug where I could not continue the story because I had a glitch where the person on the call, whenever they would show up on the screen, just would not go away. And every time I reloaded the save to multiple missions before and complete those missions again, it would just show up every time, every single time. I just couldn't complete the game, and I haven't returned back to it. I want to return back to it, but I just haven't felt the drive to return back to Cyberpunk because of that, and I feel the same about Crimson Desert. And because of that game-breaking bug, and just how annoying that was. So that's my little rant about that. In terms of other issues I have with the game, there is no point in having the two other main characters, Damien and Unka. There is no other point. I've tried them both now. No point. There is no point to having either of them. I've tried them maybe once each, and I'm like, this is just pointless. They don't share. If you like make the mistake of using skill points on Damien, for example, you lose out on using that skill point for Cliff. And when Cliff is the only one that can play the story missions, and when most of the story missions end with, or at least a lot of them end with difficult boss battles that you want to upgrade your skills for, that sucks. That really sucks. It is pointless to use Damien and Unka. It is pointless. I don't find any point to using either of them. I think the world is beautiful and has so many cool places to explore, like I said, but even how great that is and how cool it is to explore the world, there's nothing really to do in any of the places you find other than just look at them and find shops wherever they are placed. Like going to, for example, when I found the circus, like the little circus fair, I went inside, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool to watch and all that stuff. But there was nothing to really do there. There's no point. There was like maybe one vendor going into exploring some of the other towns around the map. And just as well with those, like, yeah, the town of Hernand has a lot to do in terms of you can arm wrestle and you can play games and stuff. But outside of that, there's not much else to do. There's not much else to do in really any of the other towns as well than just those few things. And I feel like it's great that the map is big and has so many cool things to explore, but bigger the map does not mean better. And the map has to be dense with things to do as well. It can't just be big to be big. It has to be dense and has to have a lot of different things you can do in it. It should be big for a reason other than just to be big, and I feel like it is big just to be big at times, and I found it to be, even though the exploration was my favorite part, and I like exploring the game and just going off the beaten path and exploring different things, I still found after I would look at it and then 2 minutes later be like, all right, now what to do? Now, okay, yeah, cool, now on to the next place. Speaking on the puzzles, I thankfully never found any of the puzzles to be that difficult. I never really got stuck on any. I've had a few where it took me a few minutes to figure out, but that's not a bad thing in my opinion. I'm glad that the puzzles aren't like holding your hand. I think it's nice that it's not a game where like, kind of like a God of War 2018, or where Atreus is constantly telling you how to solve the puzzle. Like, I liked having the challenge with the puzzles and kind of figuring out myself. But I can definitely see, I can understand the frustrations that many have about the puzzles and how, which even though it's a good thing the game doesn't hold your hand, I think they went too far with that in some puzzles, and with the just sheer amount of systems in the game, the sheer amount of different keybinds and button presses and things you can do, powers you have and all that stuff. I would agree that some puzzles can be a bit confusing if you come back to the game after, taking a break to, say, play something else. Like, I've encountered this issue where I had played Crimson Desert for a week, then I got really annoyed with the map systems and crashing and all that stuff, and just the beginning of the game being really boring, and being like, okay, this new game Screamer is coming out this upcoming weekend, I'm gonna play that, take a little break from it. Played Screamer, loved it, played it for like a whole week, was absolutely obsessed, in love with the game. Obviously, if you haven't seen my review of that a few weeks ago, I gave it a 9 out of 10, I think. And it's like my second favorite game of the year behind Resident Evil. I love Screamer so much. And so when I came back to Crimson Desert after I finished Screamer, I encountered puzzles and I'm like, shoot, there's like, I know I have to do something, but I don't remember what to do. And I had to go back into the settings and look at the menus and look at the guides and all that stuff to be like, oh yeah, I remember the force push, or I remember to do this and you could do that. So yeah, it was just kind of a little annoying at times, but I never really found myself getting too stuck with puzzles personally, but I can see where other people had issues with them. Another annoying thing is the inventory. I'm glad they keep adding more inventory space, and I've never had issues where like my inventory's been too full, but I do think it's very dumb that having the quest items take up inventory space. Like, I'm glad at least that like they each kind of only take up one space and they're combined into one space, but it's still like there's so many different quest items where they end up taking a lot of your space, like multiple rows, and it's like, okay, that's really annoying. I'm I'm stocking up on a lot of food because I'm doing these hard boss battles and I want to have a lot of food for them. I'm stocking up on a lot of materials constantly. Every shop I go to, I'm buying all the materials they have. I'm buying all the food because I have a lot of money built up, and I'm buying constantly all this stuff to stock up and to be able to craft and make food and all that stuff. And even then, I find it to be just still annoying that all the quest items take up inventory space. Also, even on the PS5 Pro, the performance really takes a hit sometimes. I know I've been talking mainly on like performance on like base PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, but even with the PS5 Pro, yes, the game looks fantastic in 60 FPS and it performs well and it looks well and it's not blurry. It still takes hits in performance a lot of times, and like I'll be going through like Hernand or in like the other big towns, and it just is going to slow to like 40 FPS, and I'm on performance mode. And then when you're near a lot of NPCs, it can also slow, and it's like, yeah, a lot of games have that issue, but I'm shocked even on PS5 Pro I'm encountering that issue on performance mode. It's a little shocking. More so to just kind of address something a lot of people have been saying and an issue a lot of people have had, and that's that like everyone has said the opening hours of the game suck, and I would agree. The opening 5 to 10 hours of the game are abysmal. They are terrible. The first few chapters of the game are boring. They are just fetch quests. They are annoying. It sucks. It really, truly is a slog. And I reached a point almost where I'm like, I don't want to continue this with the map game breaking, constantly the game breaking and shutting down because of opening the map during the first few hours of the game and how annoying that was. I was almost like, I'm not going to continue. Thankfully, I decided to push through. I'm like, I'm going to continue playing this. And so definitely as I went on, like after the 10-hour mark, it started to get better, started to pick up, but still even then, I don't love when a game says, oh, you have to play 10 hours, you have to play 20 hours for it to get good. Because it's not respecting your time in the first few hours. If a game isn't going to be good for me, if I'm not enjoying a game in the first 5 hours, it's going to take a lot for me to continue it. And it's just because this game is still very good. That's the reason why I continued. If this game didn't have really good redeeming qualities, I would not have continued it. Thankfully, the exploration and the map and all that stuff is fantastic, and the combat is fun, where I wanted to continue it and all that stuff. But if it didn't have that, after the first 5-10 hours of me just being like, wow, this really does suck, and I feel like most people have shared that opinion, I don't want to play a game that isn't going to respect my time. And this game does not respect my time at all. So yeah. Thankfully, after the first 10 hours, it gets better. I'm enjoying it now, at least. But at least for the first 10 hours, I was just like, yeah, no, this is not good. So I guess to finally get into my overall thoughts, and please, this is just my own opinion. This whole time has just been my own opinion. I am so glad that people are loving this game. I'm very happy that people are loving this game. I wish I loved this game as much, because there are so many qualities of the game that I do like, that I talked about, and that I have found the magic in this game multiple times throughout my playthrough of it. So please, this is my own opinion. But just to give my overall thoughts, Crimson Desert is one of the most divisive and mixed games in a while. And I too am very mixed with my thoughts on the game. On one hand, I commend the developers for making a game this ambitious and sticking the landing with it, but I think it could be too in over its head as well. When I started playing at launch, I was more negative on the game due to the terrible performance on my base PS5 and the abysmal opening hours of the game. When I took a break from the game to go play Screamer, I didn't really find an urge to play more Crimson Desert. But thankfully, my will to keep going brought me to find more positive findings and some eye-opening moments the further I played through the game. I started to finally discover the magic of Crimson Desert, but sadly it just wasn't enough. When I finally bought my PS5 Pro, I thought with the ability to play in 60 FPS with actually good graphics, I would be fully back in and really fall in love with the game. But sadly, the damage has already been done, in my opinion. And even with the story definitely picking up and the game getting much better in general, for every positive I find, I just encounter 3 more negatives as well. Crimson Desert is a game you need to solely focus on for hours and hours and hours and hours on end. And with more new games releasing soon, I just don't have the time and drive to do that. Maybe I'll return back to the game later this year during a period when releases aren't as frequent, but for now, I'm just very mixed on the game, sadly, and I don't have a drive to return. I was just playing last night, and I'm like, I played for a few hours, had a cool mission, but then a mission after that, I was like, no, just wasn't good. Tried to explore a little bit more, found some cool towns, found this really cool, like, windmill thing, and it was really cool, some cool environmental storytelling, and then I was kind of like, oh, I kind of want to play this game, and I kind of want to go play this right now. And so sadly, it's just hasn't drew me in, and I'm glad a lot of people like it. And I'm not saying you shouldn't like this game. I wish I liked this game, and I'm so glad a lot of people do like this game. I'm really happy, but I've also found that a lot of people don't like this game, and it is very divisive, and I'm in the middle. I have found the magic with this game, and I have found a lot of redeeming qualities where I will later this year or sometime when releases are not as frequent, I will return to this game. But for now, at least, next week I'm gonna play Pragmata, and I'm gonna commit to that. Then the week after, I'm gonna play Saros, and the week after, I'm gonna play Forza, and the week after, I'm gonna play 007 and Lego Batman, and just every single game. Maybe during the summer when releases aren't as frequent, I'll get back to this game and really sink a lot of time into it. But at least for now, I've just got so many upcoming games that I want to play, and just sadly, this is just not my kind of game, and a lot of people have different kind of games they like. Not everyone has the same kind of games they like and all that stuff, and this isn't my kind of game, and I think for a lot of people this is their kind of game, and I'm really happy that people are enjoying it. So that's really my review. In terms of what to give it out of 10, I am going to be giving Crimson Desert a 6 out of 10. Obviously, this whole review could change the further I get into the game, but I think I'm putting a pin in it for now I don't know how much I'm going to play the game, at least for the few weeks coming up. I finally decided this is when I'm going to put the review out. I've finally played enough. I've gotten 20 or more hours in the game where I'm finally realized, hey, I've played enough to get a review out. 20 hours is a lot of hours in a game. That is a lot. It's a lot. 20 hours is more than the length of most games. So I realized this is finally the time. I finally reached a point in the story where I wanted to play enough of the game where I started to enjoy it, and I started to enjoy it a lot more than I thought I would, which is nice, which is why I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. I was even maybe thinking a 7 out of 10, but the more I thought of the issues I had earlier in the game and stuff, I just couldn't excuse those. So it's going to be a 6 out of 10. It's getting better as it goes, but still though, the more I think about the issues I had earlier on with the game and all that stuff, they start to cloud my judgment, and that sucks. But if you just want a big game to sink your time into if you are someone who just wants to play one game for the span of the next few months and don't care about anything else releasing soon, and just want to wait for GTA 6, but you want to play one game, this is the game. This is a game that's going to keep you busy for hundreds of hours, and that's an awesome thing, and that's great. And I wish I had the time to sink hundreds of hours, and I wish I wasn't busy with other stuff, like this YouTube channel, and having to play other games for reviews, and going to see movies for review, and all that stuff. So I think in terms of that, if you want a game to just sink time into, I highly recommend Crimson Desert, especially now with all the bug fixes that they've done so frequently. I highly, highly, highly recommend this game. But if you're someone who's looking for a good story, don't play this game. Just do not play this game. This is not going to be for you. If you're someone like me who loves more linear games, who is someone who, my two favorite games of all time are Uncharted and Alan Wake 2. Those are linear games. They have some openness to them in some areas, but for the most part, they are very linear with amazing stories. Those are the kind of games I personally gravitate to, not this. So, and I recognize it, and I recognize that this is just also not my game, and a lot of my issues I've had that I didn't share in this video are just because it's not my game, so I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment. I'm not going to let that lead to what I give it a score. I'm just going to only let the stuff that actually frustrated me about this game affect my review and all that stuff. So that's going to be all for today's review. Again, this weekend, stay tuned this Sunday for another news roundup video. We're going to be talking all about the news that happened this week in video games and movies as well. Other than that, let me know if you have any ideas for possible videos next week. Honestly, I kind of want, the more I talk about this game, I kind of want to, in a few months from now, when I really commit time to this game, maybe I'll do a review coming back to this game, kind of my experience coming back to Crimson Desert after taking a wild break off, experience it again, and hopefully I'll give an even higher score then. But like at least almost a whole month after the game came out, I'm like, I finally have to get this review out, especially before like Pragmata next week. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully maybe in a few months, we'll see. We'll see when I return back to this game, when I have some free time where there's no games releasing. At least for the next 2 months, I'd say it's pretty busy with releases coming up soon. But yeah, overall, thanks so much for watching. If you have I would love to hear your comments on this game, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, what you liked, what you didn't like. I hear so much mixed things about this game from YouTubers and reviewers and people in games media. I've heard good, I've heard bad. I love hearing the people who say they love this game. I love hearing the stories of what people have done in this game that made them love it so much. Like, please, if you have any awesome stories of what you've done in Crimson Desert, put in the comments below. I'd love to hear some of your cool stories, what made you fall in love with the game, because I think it's always special to kind of hear what made someone fall in love with the game. Like, for me, it was just slowly moving around the world and slowly exploring and just seeing everything and be like, wow, this is awesome. Like, please put in the comments below what you loved about this game, what made you fall in love with it, and if you have issues, maybe what are some of your issues? What are some things you'd love to see fixed if they haven't been fixed already, since most things have been fixed already, which is awesome. So that's going to be all. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and yeah, put on notifications as well for any future and further videos. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.